Captain Jake Morrison stood in front of the big screen on his ship. The screen showed a map of all the stars they knew about. His ship was called the New Frontier, and it was far from Earth, exploring new places in space. Jake looked at the bright dots on the map. He could see the sun where Earth was. He could see Alpha Centauri, where humans had built their first colony outside the solar system. There were many other dots too, showing all the places where humans had traveled or built homes. But something was wrong with the map. At a certain distance from Earth, all the dots stopped. Beyond that line, everything was black. It was like someone had drawn a circle around Earth and colored everything outside it with black paint. This makes no sense, Jake said to himself. He touched the screen and tried to make it show more stars, but nothing happened. The black area stayed black. Dr. Lisa Carter walked into the room. She was the ship's expert on alien cultures and old things. She carried 3 data tablets in her hands and she looked worried. "Captain, I need to show you something important," Lisa said. She put the tablets on the table next to the big screen. "I've been studying the star maps we got from the aliens we've met. Look at this." She turned on the first tablet. It showed a star map made by the Zephyrians. The Zephyrians were tall aliens made of crystal who lived on a planet with purple skies. Their map looked different from the human map, with strange symbols and different colors, but Jake could see something familiar. There was a black area in the same place where the human map went black. "Now look at this one," Lisa said, turning on the second tablet. This map came from the Tidal Lords, aliens who looked like giant fish and lived underwater. Their map was blue and green with flowing lines like ocean currents. But again, there was a black spot in the exact same place. The third tablet showed a map from the Hive Collective. These aliens looked like giant ants and thought with one shared mind. Their map looked like a honeycomb, with 6-sided shapes everywhere, but even their strange map had the same black area. Jake stared at all 3 tablets, then looked back at the human map on the big screen. "They're all the same," he said quietly. "Every alien race has the same blind spot." "Exactly," Lisa said. "At first I thought it was just a coincidence. Maybe there was some kind of space storm or radiation that made it hard to see that area. But I checked the science reports. There's nothing wrong with that part of space. It should be full of stars just like everywhere else." Pete Williams, the ship's navigation officer, came over to see what they were talking about. Pete was young and good with computers. He spent most of his time making sure the ship went where it was supposed to go. "What's going on?" Pete asked, looking at all the maps. Jake pointed to the black areas. "Every alien race we've ever met has the same gap in their star maps. They can't see the area around Earth." Pete's eyes got wide. "That's impossible. We can see those stars just fine from Earth. I've used them for navigation lots of times." "That's what makes this so strange," Lisa said. "We can see out, but they can't see in. It's like there's a one-way mirror around our part of space." Pete pulled out his own tablet and started typing quickly. Numbers and charts appeared on the screen. "I've been keeping track of all our meetings with alien ships," he said. "Look at this pattern." He showed them a list of dates and places where humans had first met different alien races. Every single time they acted surprised to see us. Not just surprised to meet a new species, but surprised that we existed at all, like we had appeared out of nowhere. Jake remembered his first contact with the Zephyrians. Their leader had said something strange. At the time, Jake thought it was just a translation error, but now he remembered the exact words. "How did you come from the void? Nothing lives in the dark between the stars." "They couldn't see Earth," Jake said slowly. "They couldn't see any of our colonies. As far as they knew, we just appeared in space one day with our ships." Lisa nodded. "I think something is hiding us. Something is making it so other aliens can't map our area of space. But the question is what and why?" Pete was still typing on his tablet. "I'm checking our long-range sensors," he said. "If something is hiding us, maybe we can detect it." The room became quiet, except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. Jake looked out the window at the stars. They looked normal to him, just bright points of light in the darkness. But now he wondered if something was out there. something watching and hiding them from the rest of the galaxy. "Captain," Pete said suddenly, "I'm getting some weird readings on the edge of our sensor range. It's not a ship or a planet, it's something else." Jake walked over to look at Pete's tablet. The screen showed wavy lines and numbers that didn't make sense to him. "What kind of something else?" "I don't know," Pete said, "but it's big. Really big. And it's been there the whole time. I just never noticed it before because I wasn't looking for it." Lisa came over to see the readings too. Could it be some kind of space station? Maybe something left behind by an old civilization? "Maybe," Pete said. "But if it is, it's been hiding from our sensors somehow, like it didn't want to be found." Jake made a decision. "Change course, take us toward those readings. If something has been hiding us from the galaxy, I want to know what it is." Pete started entering new numbers into the navigation system. "It'll take us 3 days to get there." "Good," Jake said. "Lisa, I want you to study those alien maps some more. See if you can find any clues about what they know about the dark area. Pete, run every scan you can think of. If there's something out there, I want to find it." As the ship changed direction, Jake looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there was an answer to why Earth was hidden from the galaxy. He had a feeling that when they found that answer, everything would change. 3 months after Captain Jake Morrison's discovery, Commander Amy Rodriguez walked through the busy halls of Nexus Station. The station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. It floated in space between several star systems, and aliens from all over the galaxy came here to trade and meet. Amy had never seen so many different kinds of aliens in one place. There were tall blue ones with 4 arms, small furry ones that walked on 6 legs, and some that looked like floating jellyfish. The air smelled strange, like a mix of flowers and metal. With Amy were 2 other humans. Dr. Carl Bennett was a language expert who could speak to almost any alien race. Colonel Rick Hayes was a soldier who kept them safe. They were here on a diplomatic mission, trying to learn more about the galaxy and make friends with other species. "Stay close," Amy told her team as they walked through the crowd. "This place is bigger than it looks, and it's easy to get lost." They were looking for the Ethereal Collective, a group of aliens who were known for keeping old records and books. If anyone knew about the mystery of Earth's hidden location, it would be them. After walking for an hour, they found the right section of the station. The Ethereal Collective had their own area that looked like a giant library. The walls were covered with shelves that went up so high Amy couldn't see the top. Strange books and data crystals filled every shelf. An alien came to meet them. It looked like a giant octopus that could walk on land. Its skin was purple and covered with glowing spots. It had 8 long arms and 2 big eyes that seemed very intelligent. "Welcome, humans," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Kethvar, keeper of the ancient records. I have been expecting you." Amy was surprised. "You were expecting us?" "Word travels fast in the galaxy," Kethvar said. "We heard that your species emerged from the silent sector. This is very interesting to us." Dr. Bennett stepped forward. "The silent sector? What is that?" Kethvar moved to one of the shelves and pulled out a large book made of metal pages. "Come, I will show you something that will explain much." They followed the alien to a quiet corner, where there were chairs that could fit different kinds of bodies. Kethvar opened the metal book carefully. The pages had writing that looked like flowing water mixed with geometric shapes. "This book is over 5,000 years old," Kethvar said. "It tells the story of the silent sector, a region of space that has been unmappable for longer than any of our civilizations have existed." Amy leaned forward to look at the strange writing. "What does it say about this silent sector?" Kethvar pointed to symbols on the page. "It says that long ago, brave explorers from many different species tried to map that area of space. Ships would go in, but they would never come back. Sometimes empty ships would return with no crew inside. All the computers would be wiped clean, as if someone had erased all the information." Colonel Hayes frowned. "That sounds like someone was defending that area." "Yes," Kethvar agreed. "But defending it from what? And why?" "The book calls it the Shroud because it covers something important, something that was hidden on purpose." Dr. Bennett was taking notes on his tablet. How long has this been going on? Kethvar turned several pages in the book. The oldest records we have are from a civilization that died out 8,000 years ago. Even they wrote about the silent sector as something that had been there since ancient times. Amy felt a chill run down her back. So this has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. Even longer, Kethvar said. And here is the most interesting part. The alien pointed to a drawing on one of the pages. It showed a map of the galaxy with a dark circle in one area. Every species that has ever tried to explore this region reports the same thing. Their instruments stop working. Their maps go blank. It is as if something does not want to be found. Colonel Hayes looked at the drawing carefully. This dark area, where exactly is it located? Kethvar pulled out another book, this one with star charts. Here, the alien said, pointing to a section of the map. Your species calls this area the local group. It contains your sun and the nearby star systems where you have built colonies. Amy's heart started beating faster. You're saying that Earth and all our colonies are inside this forbidden zone? Not forbidden, Kethvar corrected. Protected. There is a difference. The ancient texts suggest that whatever created the shroud is not trying to keep people out. It is trying to keep something safe inside. Dr. Bennett looked up from his notes. Keep what safe? Kethavar's glowing spots flickered, which Amy had learned meant the alien was thinking hard. The books are not clear about that, but they mention something called the key or the bridge, something that was hidden away for safekeeping until the right time. The right time for what? Amy asked. For when it would be needed again, Kethvar said. The texts speak of a great danger that once threatened all life in the galaxy. Something was hidden away to protect it from this danger. The shroud was created to make sure it stayed hidden until the danger passed. Colonel Hayes stood up and walked around the table. But if this danger passed, why is the shroud still there? Kethvar closed the metal book slowly. Perhaps the danger has not passed, or perhaps those who created the shroud are waiting for something else. A sign that it is safe to reveal what has been hidden. Amy thought about Captain Morrison's discovery. What if humans developing space travel is that sign? What if we were supposed to eventually find our way out of the hidden area? That is possible, Kethvar said. In our culture, we believe that everything happens for a reason. Your species appearing suddenly in the galaxy, with technology and ships that we have never seen before, this cannot be a coincidence. Dr. Bennett was still writing notes. Is there anything else in your records about what might be hidden in the silent sector? Kethvar thought for a moment, then went to another shelf. The alien brought back a small crystal that glowed with soft blue light. This contains the oldest story we have about the shroud. It was told by a species that no longer exists. They claim to have met the beings who created the barrier around your region of space. Amy reached out to touch the crystal, but Kethvar pulled it back gently. Be careful. This crystal contains more than just words. It contains emotions and memories from the beings who created it. If you are not prepared, it can be overwhelming. What does the story say? Colonel Hayes asked. Kethvar held the crystal up to the light. It says that the creators of the shroud were not from this galaxy. They came from somewhere else, fleeing from a great enemy. They brought something precious with them, something that could save all life if used correctly, or destroy everything, if it fell into the wrong hands. The room became very quiet. Amy could hear the sounds of the busy station outside, but here in the library, everything felt still and important. They hid this precious thing in a safe place, Kethvar continued, and then they disappeared. But before they left, they set up watchers to make sure their hiding place stayed secret. The story says these watchers are still out there, still protecting what was hidden. Amy looked at her team. They had come to Nexus Station looking for answers, but now they had even more questions. What was hidden on Earth? Who were these mysterious watchers? And what was the great enemy that had scared the creators of the shroud so much that they hid something precious for thousands of years? Dr. Kevin Park sat in the control room of Earth's deep space monitoring array. The room was full of computers and screens that watched the space around Earth's solar system. Kevin had worked here for 10 years, and he thought he knew what normal looked like. But today nothing looked normal. The screens showed energy readings that made no sense. Strange signals were coming from the very edge of the solar system, far beyond Pluto where nothing should exist. The energy patterns were unlike anything Kevin had ever seen. They didn't match solar flares, asteroid impacts, or any known natural space phenomenon. "Computer, run the scan again," Kevin said to the artificial intelligence that helped him analyze data. "Scan complete," the computer replied in its calm voice. "Energy signatures confirmed. Source appears to be artificial in nature. Recommend immediate investigation." Kevin stared at the readings on his screen. The computer was right. These energy patterns could only come from technology, not from natural space objects. But whose technology? Humans had never built anything that far out in space. He picked up his communication device and called Captain Helen Ross. Helen commanded a research ship called the Pathfinder that was currently near Jupiter, studying the planet's moons. "Helen, this is Kevin at Deep Space Monitoring. I need your ship to investigate something unusual." Helen's voice came through the speaker. "What kind of unusual, Kevin?" "The kind that might change everything we know about our solar system," Kevin said. "I'm sending you coordinates. There's something out there that shouldn't exist." 2 days later, the Pathfinder arrived at the coordinates Kevin had given them. Captain Helen Ross stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the darkness of space. Her crew was small but skilled. Danny Cole was the communications officer, and he was the best at picking up strange signals. The rest of the crew were scientists and engineers who loved exploring unknown things. "Danny, are you picking up anything?" Helen asked. Danny was sitting at his station, wearing headphones and adjusting dials on his equipment. "I'm getting something, Captain. It's very faint, but it's definitely artificial. Whatever's out there is trying to stay hidden." Helen looked at the main screen, but all she could see were stars. "If something's there, why can't we see it?" "Maybe it doesn't want to be seen," said Dr. Linda Shaw, the ship's science officer. She was studying readings from their sensors. "Captain, I'm detecting massive objects ahead. They're not reflecting light like normal matter. It's like they're absorbing everything." Helen made a decision. "Take us closer, but slowly. If there's something there, I want to see it before it sees us." As the Pathfinder moved forward, something amazing happened. The empty space in front of them began to shimmer like water. Shapes started to appear, huge and impossible. What they saw made everyone on the bridge gasp in shock. Floating in space were structures the size of moons. They looked like they had been built by someone with technology far beyond anything humans had ever created. The structures were dark gray and covered with patterns that seemed to move and change. Strange lights flickered across their surfaces like lightning frozen in metal. "My God," Helen whispered. "How long have these been here?" Dr. Shaw was typing quickly on her computer, trying to scan the structures. "According to these readings, they're incredibly old. The materials they're made from don't match anything in our databases. This technology is thousands of years more advanced than ours." Danny suddenly sat up straight at his station. "Captain, the structures are responding to our presence. They're waking up." The lights on the massive structures began to glow brighter. Energy fields that looked like aurora lights started dancing between them. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Are they weapons?" Helen asked, ready to order the ship to retreat. "I don't think so," Dr. Shaw said, studying her instruments. "It looks more like a monitoring system, like they're scanning us." Danny's equipment started making beeping sounds. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission. It's not in any language I recognize, but it's definitely communication." "Can you decode it?" Helen asked. Danny worked at his station for several minutes. "It's mathematical, like a computer talking to another computer. The AI might be able to help translate." They fed the signal to the ship's artificial intelligence. After a few minutes, the computer spoke. "Translation attempt complete. The message appears to be a status report. The structures are reporting our presence to something else." Helen felt a chill run down her spine. "Reporting to what?" "Unknown," the computer replied. "But the transmission is being sent to multiple locations across the galaxy." Dr. Shaw looked up from her instruments with wide eyes. "Captain, these structures aren't just monitoring us, they're part of a network. A communication network that spans the entire galaxy." Danny was listening to more signals through his headphones. There's, more coming in, lots more. It's like the whole network just woke up and started talking. Helen watched as the ancient structures continued to glow and pulse with energy. What are they saying? The computer worked for a long time before answering. They appear to be sharing information about human technology, population, and space travel capabilities. The network is updating itself about the current state of human civilization. Why would they need to know that? Helen asked. Dr. Shaw was studying the patterns of light moving across the structures. Maybe they've been waiting for us to reach a certain level of development, like they were programmed to activate when humans became advanced enough. Danny pulled off his headphones and turned to face the captain. Captain, I think we may have triggered some kind of alert system. These structures have been asleep for a very long time, and our arrival just woke them up. Helen looked out at the massive structures floating in space. They were still glowing with energy, still sending their mysterious messages across the galaxy. But alert for what? What are they warning about? I don't know, Danny said. But whatever it is, they're sending information about us to something that's very far away. Dr. Shaw checked her instruments again. Captain, the energy output from these structures is increasing. Whatever they're doing it faster. Now, Helen made another decision. Danny, record everything. I want every signal, every energy reading, everything documented. Linda, map these structures as completely as you can. When we get back to Earth, scientists are going to want to study every detail. What about approaching them? Dr. Shaw asked. We could learn so much more if we got closer. Helen shook her head. Not yet. We don't know if they're friendly or just ignoring us. First, we need to understand what we're dealing with. As the Pathfinder continued to observe the ancient structures, Helen couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. These structures had been hidden at the edge of human space for thousands of years. They had been waiting and watching. Now they were awake and talking to something far away. The question was, what would happen when that something decided to answer back? Danny put his headphones back on and continued listening to the strange signals. Captain, the transmissions are getting stronger, and I think I'm starting to understand the pattern. These structures aren't just reporting about us. They're asking for instructions. Helen looked out at the glowing structures one more time. Instructions for what? I think, Danny said quietly, they're asking what to do about us. Admiral Tony Clark stood on the bridge of the battleship Defender, watching the biggest ships he had ever seen appear at the edge of human space. The ships were enormous, each one the size of a small moon. They moved slowly through space like floating cities made of metal and light. It had been 3 weeks since Captain Helen Ross discovered the ancient structures. Now, something had answered their call. These massive ships had arrived from somewhere far away, and every human military base in the galaxy was on high alert. Sir, we're receiving a transmission, said Lieutenant Sarah Kim, the communications officer. It's coming from the lead ship. Tony had gathered the largest fleet in human history to meet these visitors. Ships from Earth, Mars, and all the human colonies had come together. Even their alien friends had sent ships to help. The Zephyrians, the Tidal Lords, and the Hive Collective all had vessels standing by. Put it through, Tony ordered. The main screen flickered and an image appeared that made everyone on the bridge gasp. The being looking back at them was clearly intelligent, but unlike any alien they had met before. It looked somewhat human, but taller and more elegant. Its skin seemed to glow with a soft inner light, and its eyes were ancient and wise. I am Keeper Prime, the being said in perfect English. I speak for the architects, the guardians of this galaxy. We have been watching your species for a very long time. Tony stepped forward. I am Admiral Tony Clark, representing the United Earth Defense Force. Are you here as friends or enemies? Keeper Prime's expression was calm and patient. We are. Neither, Admiral. We are watchers. We have been waiting for your species to reach this moment. What moment? Tony asked. The moment when you would leave your protected space and reveal yourselves to the galaxy. Keeper Prime replied. Your species has been under our protection for thousands of your years. Now that protection must end, because you have something the galaxy needs. Dr. Susan Wright, Earth's top geneticist, was also on the bridge. She had been called in when the alien ships arrived because everyone suspected this meeting would involve more than just military matters. "What do you mean by protection?" Dr. Wright asked. Keeper Prime turned to look at her. "Your star system exists within what you call the Shroud. We created this barrier long ago to hide your species while you developed. We needed to keep you safe until you were ready." "Ready for what?" Tony demanded. "Ready to fulfill your purpose," Keeper Prime said. "Your species carries something in your genetic code that was placed there long ago. Something that was thought lost forever, but which we preserved in your ancestors." Dr. Wright felt her heart beating faster. As a geneticist, she had always wondered about certain sequences in human DNA that seemed to serve no purpose. They didn't match the normal patterns of evolution, and they were the same in every human being. "What kind of genetic code?" she asked. Keeper Prime's image changed, showing a complex diagram of DNA structures. "What you call junk DNA is actually a communication system. When activated, it allows instantaneous contact across any distance in space. It can connect minds and share thoughts faster than light can travel." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone was trying to understand what this meant. This technology once connected every intelligent species in the galaxy. Keeper Prime continued. It created a network of shared knowledge and cooperation that lasted for millions of years. But then the Devourers came. "Who are the Devourers?" Tony asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Keeper Prime's expression became darker. "They are an ancient machine intelligence that spreads across galaxies like a disease. They consume organic life and add its knowledge to their collective consciousness. They seek to control or destroy everything that lives and thinks freely." Dr. Wright was studying the DNA diagrams on the screen. "You're saying this communication ability was hidden in our genes to keep it away from these Devourers?" "Exactly," Keeper Prime said. "The network technology was too dangerous to leave active while the Devourers were spreading across the galaxy, so we hid it in a species that lived on a small planet, far from the major space routes. We surrounded that planet with a barrier that would keep it hidden until the time was right." Tony was beginning to understand. "Earth, you hid this technology in humans and then made sure no one could find us." "Yes. For thousands of years, we have watched your species grow and develop. We needed to see if you would use your abilities, for good or evil. We needed to know if you could be trusted with power that could unite or destroy all life in the galaxy." Dr. Wright had more questions. But how does this work? How can human DNA create instantaneous communication? Keeper Prime gestured, and the image on the screen changed again. Now it showed the human brain with glowing pathways of light. When activated, the dormant sequences in your genetic code create quantum entanglement in your neural networks. This allows consciousness to be shared across any distance instantly. "That's impossible," Dr. Wright said. "Quantum entanglement doesn't work with complex systems like brains. It does when the brain is modified by the genetic sequences we placed in your species," Keeper Prime replied. "But there is more. This technology doesn't just allow communication. It can link the consciousness of every human being into a single network of shared awareness." Tony felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you saying humans could become like a hive mind?" "Not a hive mind," Keeper Prime corrected. "A connected mind. Each person would remain individual, but they could share thoughts, emotions, and knowledge instantly with anyone else in the network. Imagine if every human could access the combined wisdom and experience of the entire species." The implications were staggering. Dr. Wright tried to imagine what human civilization would be like if everyone could share knowledge instantly. Scientific discoveries, artistic creations, and solutions to problems could spread to everyone immediately. But Tony was thinking about the dangers. What about privacy? What about individual freedom? "Those are choices your species must make," Keeper Prime said. "The technology can be controlled. Each person can choose how much to share and with whom. But the Devourers are coming, Admiral. They have discovered that the network technology still exists, and they are moving across the galaxy to find it. How long do we have? Tony asked. Not long, perhaps a few years. The Devourers move slowly because they consume every world they encounter, but they never stop. And now they know that somewhere in this galaxy, the network technology they seek still exists. Dr. Wright looked at the DNA diagrams again. What happens if they get their hands on this technology? Keeper Prime's expression became very serious. If the Devourers gain access to even one human with activated DNA, they could use the network to instantly control every connected mind in the galaxy. Every species that joins the network would become part of their collective. Free will would end forever. Tony understood the choice they were facing. So we can either activate this network technology and risk the Devourers getting it, or we can stay hidden and let the galaxy face them without the network's help. There is a third option, Keeper Prime said. Your species could become the central hub of a new galactic alliance. Earth could be the hidden heart of resistance against the Devourers, but this would make your world the primary target. Every Devourer ship would eventually come looking for you. The bridge was silent as everyone considered this choice. They could stay safe behind their protective barrier, or they could step forward and help save the galaxy, knowing it would put Earth in terrible danger. Tony looked around at his crew, then back at Keeper Prime. If we help create this network, could it actually stop the Devourers? Perhaps, Keeper Prime said. United, the free species of the galaxy would be stronger than they have ever been. But divided, they will fall one by one to the Devourers. The choice is yours, Admiral. What will humanity choose? Captain Nathan Price stood in the meeting room on Earth's largest space station, looking at representatives from every human colony and their alien allies. The room was crowded with humans, Zephyrians, Tidal Lords, and members of the Hive Collective. Everyone was here to make the most important decision in galactic history. It had been 2 weeks since Admiral Clark's meeting with Keeper Prime. The architects had given humanity time to think about their choice, but that time was running out. Long-range sensors had detected the first Devourer scout ships at the edge of the galaxy. The ancient enemy was coming. We've heard all the arguments, Nathan said to the assembled group. Now we need to make a decision. Do we stay hidden and safe, or do we help create the network that could save the galaxy? President Maria Gonzalez of the United Earth Government spoke first. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her voice was strong and clear. I've been thinking about what it means to be human. Throughout our history, when people were in danger, we didn't hide. We helped, even when it was dangerous for us. Commander Amy Rodriguez, who had returned from her diplomatic mission, nodded in agreement. The aliens we've met aren't our enemies. They're our neighbors. If we can help save them from the Devourers, shouldn't we try? But not everyone agreed. General Bob Turner, head of Earth's Defense Forces, shook his head. We're talking about putting every human life at risk. If we become the center of this network, the Devourers will come for us first. Are we willing to sacrifice our entire species? Engineer Maria Gonzalez, who had been studying the network technology, stood up to speak. She was not related to the president, but she had the same first name. I've been working with the data Keeper Prime gave us. This network isn't just about communication. It could change everything about how civilizations work together. She activated a hologram that showed the galaxy with connecting lines between star systems. Imagine if every world could share knowledge instantly. Scientific discoveries on one planet could help solve problems on another planet immediately. Art, music, and stories could spread across the galaxy in seconds. We could create a true galactic community. Dr. Susan Wright, the geneticist, had more information to share. I've been studying the dormant DNA sequences in human genetics. The technology is already there, waiting to be activated. But here's what's interesting. It's not just about sharing thoughts. The network could help us understand each other better. It might end wars and conflicts, because people would truly know how others feel. Kethvar, the alien historian who had come from Nexus Station, raised one of his 8 arms. My people have records of what the galaxy was like when the original network existed. There was peace between species that had never been achieved before or since. The network didn't make everyone think the same way. It made them understand each other. Captain Jake Morrison, who had first discovered the mystery of the hidden maps, spoke next. "I keep thinking about something," Keeper Prime said. "The Devourers are coming whether we help or not. If we stay hidden, we might be safe for a while. But eventually they'll find everyone. At least this way, we give the galaxy a fighting chance." Debate continued for hours. Some people were afraid of the risks. Others were excited about the possibilities. The alien representatives mostly stayed quiet, understanding that this was a decision humans had to make for themselves. Finally, Nathan called for a vote. "All those in favor of activating the network and making Earth the central hub of galactic resistance, raise your hands." Slowly, hands went up around the room. President Gonzalez voted yes. Commander Rodriguez voted yes. Engineer Gonzalez voted yes. Dr. Wright voted yes. Captain Morrison voted yes. More and more hands rose until it was clear that the majority had made their choice. General Turner, who had voted against the plan, stood up. "I disagree with this decision, but if we're going to do this, we need to do it right. Every human world will need to be defended. Every colony will need weapons and ships. If we're going to be the galaxy's protectors, we need to be ready for war." Nathan nodded. "Agreed. We'll ask the architects to help us prepare our defenses while we set up the network." 3 months later, the first phase of the galactic network came online. Dr. Wright had worked with volunteers from every human colony to activate their dormant genetic sequences. It was strange at first, suddenly being able to sense the thoughts and feelings of other people, but humans adapted quickly. The network didn't work the way some people had feared. People didn't lose their individuality or their privacy. Instead, they could choose to share specific thoughts or emotions with others. Scientists working on the same problem could share their research instantly. Artists could collaborate across star systems. Families separated by space could feel connected in ways they never had before. More importantly, the network began connecting other species too. The Zephyrians were the first aliens to join, followed by the Tidal Lords. Each species that joined made the network stronger and more diverse. Nathan, who had been chosen as the first network coordinator, often stood in the command center on Earth and watched the galaxy come together in ways no one had imagined. Information flowed between worlds like rivers of light. Problems that had puzzled scientists for years were solved in days when multiple species worked together, but the Devourers were still coming. Long-range sensors showed their massive ships moving slowly but steadily toward the core worlds of the galaxy. They consumed everything in their path, turning living worlds into empty metal spheres that joined their ever-growing fleet. "How much time do we have?" Nathan asked Captain Helen Ross, who was now in charge of the early warning network. 2 years, maybe 3, Helen replied. "They're moving faster now that they know the network exists. Our signals are like a beacon calling them toward us." Nathan looked at the holographic display showing the connected worlds of the new Galactic Alliance. Hundreds of species were now part of the network, sharing knowledge and resources like never before. For the first time in galactic history, the free peoples of the galaxy were truly united. Engineer Gonzalez had been working on new technologies that combined human network abilities with alien engineering. "We're building weapons and defenses that no single species could have created alone," she reported. "The network is making us stronger than the sum of our parts." As Nathan watched the lights on the galactic map grow brighter and more connected each day, he knew they had made the right choice. Yes, Earth was now the primary target of the most dangerous enemy the galaxy had ever known. Yes, humanity had accepted enormous risks to help species they had only recently met, but they had also created something beautiful and powerful, a galaxy where different species could truly understand each other and work together. Whatever happened when the Devourers arrived, the free peoples of the galaxy would face them as one united civilization. Nathan touched the network interface and felt the presence of billions of minds across the galaxy, human, alien, all connected, by choice rather than force. This was what humanity had been meant for, not to conquer or dominate, but to bring others together and stand against the darkness. The Devourers were coming. But they would find a galaxy very different from the one they expected. They would find a civilization that had learned to share strength instead of competing for power. And at the heart of it all would be Earth, no longer hidden but shining like a beacon of hope in the darkness between the stars.